Hello and welcome back to another episode of Redefining Moments. I'm your host Kelly and I'm so glad to have you here with me today. So I've just been in bed reading a book and I sound like I read so much more than I actually do, but I get very much inspired by the text that I'm reading and the conversations that I have in life. And it allows me to come up with ideas and perspectives of the world through other people's observations of it. And I'm reading a book where someone has clinical depression and anxiety, and they're talking about their experiences in life. And it's a really good book. It's Untamed, if you haven't read it. It's a nice, easy one because the chapters are very much like short, sweet, but impactful. But there was a point she was talking about being on medication to treat her clinical depression. And I have a thing about medication, and I don't know why, because I understand it helps people, but I have a thing about it where I'm like, where are we numbing ourselves? Are we numbing ourselves? Are we being told that there's something wrong with us when actually there isn't? Or there is, and we need something to help balance us out, but are there other ways of helping us find balance? Are there other ways of becoming less sensitive to the world? And it's easy for me to say this because I have real highs and lows. I describe myself as a creative in that sense because I have extreme highs in life. I see the beauty, I see the wonder, I see the just absolute beautiful qualities of the world around me. I light up just talking about it. But I also have moments where I feel terrible. I feel miserable, and I feel lucky because I know people who do experience worse lows. But when I was thinking about this after reading that chapter in the book, I started to try and think about like a metaphor or like an idea of what it means to be a sensitive person. And all I could think of, and I'm sorry if you're a very visual person, is going outside into the world without any skin. And I was thinking about it in the sense of our subconscious mind, as if we had a second layer of skin that we couldn't see in the world. And this second layer, it has wounds. It's an armour our body has created to protect ourselves in the way it feels it needs to be protected. But in some cases, the skin is softer, or it's open, or it's meshed, or it's not quite healed. So when the world is happening, life is happening, which it does, it just is. There are moments where it will bounce off our skin like water. It will run off. It won't seep through. But then there are certain things that will penetrate our armour. Either because it's too heavy or too hard or too strong, it's able to break through, because the world can be heavy and we just don't know what to do with that. We've never experienced it before. Or there is a wound already existing and it has direct access to us. And I think through this, that's how I see a lot of our pain and suffering. When I'm spiraling, it's often because something has entered that wound. Something has gone, oh, here's easy access, and it gets straight to me. And it's often associated to not feeling good enough, not feeling like I can do enough. And for me, that's why I've tried designing parts of my life where I'm not exposing myself to that. Because for me, things like the news it highlights to me that I am not doing enough in this life. But there, I can't go and save the world. I'm not a superhero. I'm just a human being. Like, I'm just trying to get through life. So when I see pain and suffering in the world, I feel so broken. And I think I know that's the thing I found interesting about reading Untamed is she's all about the activism. And I feel guilty because I'm ignoring things in life for my own sanity and peace. And I'm very much aware they exist, but I also know the pain it causes me. And I'm turning, I guess what you could say, a blind eye to it in order to ensure that I am maintaining my own peace. Because without me maintaining my own peace, I won't be going out into the world from a healed place. I will be going out to the world from my own rawness. And from that, that's when I take from the world. That's the place I'm in where I feel like a vacuum. I feel like a black hole that is taking in all of the energy just to try and preserve my own. But by ignoring things, you can't see me doing little quotations around it, by not watching the news, by making sure that I have the space to return to myself, I'm able to do more. I'm able to offer the version of myself that is more like light, that is more like a bright light that can give life rather than take it. And I think we need to stop feeling guilty for actually focusing on ourselves. At least growing up for me, and I think I've touched upon this in episodes, there's this idea of selfishness. You shouldn't be selfish. But the irony is, there are two types of selfish, at least for me. There's the one that is the black hole, and there is the one that is the light. And when we're coming from the black hole place, we are trying to use the external world to fuel our needs, but it never satisfies that thirst. It never completes us. It's constantly just making us feel good temporarily, the little dopamine kicks, but it's not actually sustaining us. It's not fulfilling us. When it comes to the light, it's when you choose to be selfish. It's when you choose to have boundaries. It's when you choose to go inwards and go, okay, what wounds need healing right now? How can I protect myself in this moment in time so I can go out and give energy? So I have the energy to give rather than to try and take. So I find it an interesting concept. And the thing is, I know when reading something, you're reading a glimpse of what they're trying to say. It's not always the full picture, the full understanding. And I have no idea what it's like to be in someone's shoes who has clinical depression and anxiety. But what I do know is through my own experiences, by sitting with the moments, by working through them, and sometimes not even working through them, just kind of letting them be, recognizing myself as not being broken, just being a human who experiences emotions, has allowed me to improve my armour to the point I'm no longer having to defend myself from the world. Because if we do have an open wound, it's open to infection, it's open to like pain. If we don't let it heal, if we don't let it get the air it needs, if we don't allow it to breathe, if we know what happens with a wound, and maybe I know a bit more because of a healthcare background, but we know what happens. There's a cut, it's exposed, we have to leave it. If it is not healthy, we might have to clean it. and then we treat it maybe with some salt water or whatever, but it goes through a journey. It goes through a process of needing to be exposed to the air. Like, we know what it's like. And I'm sorry if anyone's squeamish, because I realise I'm really going into the wound analogies right now. But if you've got a plaster and you leave it on a wound, it won't heal. There's a point that it's good because it protects it from the outside world, which is probably what a lot of us are doing with our own mental wounds. We put plasters over it, but there's a certain point you need to rip the plaster off and let the air get to it. You need to let it be exposed, because there are going to be points where it's just never going to heal, and that plaster is getting dirty and damaged, and it's just going to get worse. Just going to get worse. So yeah, I think there are two sides of healing and personal development journeys. Or many sides, really. There's multiple parts of the journey. And I think the first part comes from hiding and protecting yourself. I think there is a general need to sit in a quiet room and allow yourself to breathe. Allow yourself to feel what you're feeling and just heal. Let the wound breathe. Let yourself breathe. And in your own space, because one thing I'm learning about myself is, in one of my episodes recently, I talk about sitting in the silence and how silence can be so vulnerable and so frightening. And I think part of that, thinking of it from this perspective, part of that is because I feel I unintentionally perform. And I guess this is what people could consider as masking. So when other people are around, even though I'm not aware of it, I probably push myself to behave or be a certain way. I will get up and just continue with life, even when all I really want to do is sit in bed and vegetate all day. And when we're exposed to the world, when we feel seen, we're often not giving ourselves the opportunity to express ourselves vulnerably and truthfully. Whereas when we're sat alone, I think that's why it scares us so much. Because when we're sat alone, we are exposed to our vulnerability without having to perform, without having to put on that mask, without having to put on a character to be accepted. We can suddenly feel what we need to feel. We can suddenly take the load off and just flop into ourselves. And I think what's quite scary about that is a lot of us will feel that we can't come back from that. But we don't have to do it in the sense of, I'm just going to lock myself in my room and I'm never going to come out again. It could be, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes just to feel what I'm feeling, just to sit alone, wallow on the floor. I've done that. I've done that when dating situations haven't gone how I thought they would. I've literally just decided to lie in the fetal position on the floor, cry my eyes out, and just accept that it didn't go how I wanted it to. And then I got up and got on with life. But I allowed myself to feel the feelings. When my dog died, I got a weighted blanket in the post that day, which felt very good timing. And I was so upset. But I felt tired. I felt physically exhausted. So I decided to go upstairs. I put the weighted blanket on and I had a nap. My other dog was next to me and I just held his paw. And I woke up and I felt better. I felt like I allowed my grief an opportunity to just process and heal. I listened to the tiredness and I just slept. And then occasionally I would give myself a few moments just to cry, just to feel what I was feeling. And I kept going. And I kept going not in a sense of I was trying to push through. I just lived my life. I accepted there was pain within that. I gave myself the space for the pain and I kept moving. And I think we can do both. But I think often we are taught that we have to do one or the other. We either need to wallow and grieve and feel our suffering, or we need to just get on with it and ignore it and keep pushing past it. And I do think when combining the two, there is something useful about keeping living, because as long as you're continuing living, you're not getting stuck within your grief. You're going, well, life still continues. You're teaching yourself that life still continues regardless of the loss. Life still continues regardless of what's happening in the world. But I'm going to give myself a moment to sit with the pain. I'm going to give myself the compassion and kindness to just let myself feel what I'm feeling right now. So that's how I think we heal wounds. We can protect it with a bandage, and then occasionally we open it up to the world and we give it the time to breathe. And I think there are multiple factors. Like, everyone's brain's different, and reading Change Your Brain, Change Your Life a couple of years back was so fascinating, because there are so many different factors that can affect our ability to grieve. But I also think it's the case of how well have we been taught to grieve? How well have we been taught to feel pain? How well have we been taught to protect ourselves from the world? Because I think I've discussed it before. It's like, if you haven't got those strong foundations, if you haven't got the brick house, it's like the Three Little Pigs. Imagine the Three Little Pigs in our mind. We will have different materials that help protect us. And in some scenarios, one material is going to be better than others, like houses. If you go abroad, if you go somewhere hot, obviously I'm talking from the UK right now. So when I talk about abroad, I'm talking about like huts or houses that have like less insulation or are made of wood, like the Three Little Pigs. There are some environments where they thrive because it gets hot. You need the environment to be able to breathe, to be able to let out the heat. Whereas in the UK, we need bricks, we need insulation, because our weather is so interchangeable. But our minds are too. Our minds are so interchangeable. Our experiences and life is so interchangeable. So the more we experience life, the more we can build the tools and the materials to help protect us from the world. And it isn't the case of ignoring the world. I like to think it's actually knowing what battles you are prepared to fight, knowing what battles you have the resources for in order to face. Because we're going out trying to fight a war with a toothpick, when actually we just need to come back to our own level, our own space, and fight our own battles. Recognize what our own internal wars are, so we can go out into the world with more kindness and compassion. That we can stop blaming the world for our problems or for being wrong, and go, actually, how can I help my problems? How can I fix my problems? How can I solve my problems? Because it's not the world's fault that we have broken parts of ourselves. It's no one's fault. It's not even our fault. But our life, it can be about going out and actually figuring out why we feel broken in certain places of ourselves. What is it that we can do to feel more whole? And when we give ourselves that time, that space, that energy, then maybe we can start helping others find the piece of themselves that they feel are broken. Not in the sense of forcing them to heal from our own perspective, because that never works, but from just offering them some support in finding it, offering them some kindness and compassion in knowing that they are safe to be the full spectrum of who they are. And that's how we heal. And I do deeply believe that's how we heal the world, is bit by bit, moment to moment, healing ourselves first, so that we can then help heal others. And when we help heal others, it becomes a ripple effect. As my friend calls it, the dandelion effect. We begin to plant seeds all over. We create a ripple of healing and change in the world by becoming the versions of ourselves we wish to be. Healing is a journey. And it's not perfect. It's actually the complete opposite of that. I think I've finally got to a point in my journey where I'm realizing more and more that healing is the messiness. Healing is the imperfect. I said in one of my recent episodes about how I thought being alone and being by myself and learning who I was by myself was the key. And I do still agree with that. I do still agree that it is knowing how to sit with ourselves, knowing how to be alone with ourselves, knowing what we want from life, knowing our own tune that we're singing to life to, like understanding that part of ourselves helps us find the rhythms in life that align with us. But then through that, I guess we draw in the frequencies, we draw in the connections that then can help us heal further. We need to have moments alone so we can also have shared healing. And I think going back to what I was saying at the beginning, or close to the beginning about the news, like I don't watch the news anymore. And I'm raised in the belief that, you need to be in tune with what's going on in the world. You need to know what's going on with the world. But why? Whose belief is that? What do I need to know about the world in order to help myself and to help the world? And actually, for me, knowing what's going on with the world can be so overwhelming that it stops me from being able to help the world. It stops me from being able to take the steps to focus on my own healing and helping others directly within my circle. Maybe one day I'll be healed enough to be able to go out into the world and help the world. But right now, I'm doing it closer to home because that's where it feels safe. That's where it feels nurturing in this moment in time. And that's the key to any healing journey, is taking it step by step, moment to moment. I think when it comes to feeling so overwhelmed by life and so overwhelmed by the world, at least from my own experience, it's because I'm already 10 steps ahead where I really need to be focusing on the one. And by going and focusing on the one, that's where I make real progress from a place of being the sun rather than being the black hole. So as always, if you have found this episode interesting, if it's given you a perspective on life that you hadn't quite considered before, please share. Please let me know your thoughts, your feelings. And if you know anyone who could do with this support or to do with this like insight to help them in their own journey, then please share with them. I've really enjoyed, once again, sharing this perspective with you, questioning my own beliefs, and also putting my own perspective out there is so valuable to me, because the interesting thing is I could be saying this now, and in a month, in a year, in 3 years' time, I could have a totally different perspective. But that's the whole point. It's perspectives change. We change. Our views of the world change. But maybe that also comes from healing our armour and healing our wounds. Because once we've healed that wounds, we don't need to see that perspective anymore. Until next time.